Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, with some thoughts on the upcoming rematch of a draw that took place between David Tua and Monte Barrett. Before I go further, just remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. The first fight was stunning. Monte Barrett, going into that fight, had lost 3 in a row. Right? Monte Barrett, people may not know, after that fight, actually fought a guy who had lost 4 in a row, who had a record of 19 wins and 21 losses. And did you know that Monte Barrett was lucky to get the draw in that fight? So Monte Barrett is not a spring chicken. We're talking about a guy who, quite frankly, has a lot of wear and tear on the tires. I know many people are saying Monte Barrett has rejuvenated his career. Understand, just doing the math, in his last 5 fights, including the Tua fight, Monte Barrett has 3 losses and 2 draws. He hasn't won any of them. Note further that the first fight was in Atlantic City, in Barrett's home country of the United States. This fight's going to be in New Zealand, in David Tua's home country. Now, all of that said, you know my motto: styles make fights. And it is my belief, looking at the styles of the fighters and taking into account that certain fighters just hold the key to others, right? People know that Thomas Hearns lost twice, the great Thomas Hearns, to Iran Barkley. Barkley just seemed to have the magic formula, the key to Hearns' door. With all of that in mind, the bet I'm recommending here is that I like the over, straddled against David Tua by KO. Right? The possibility that I'm eliminating is Monte Barrett winning this fight inside of the over. I just don't see that happening. Now let's talk about why. Some fighters, Roy Jones in his prime, one of the best I have ever seen. I've posted the video of Roy Jones against Vinny Paz on my channel page. And Jones in his prime had a skill that David Tua completely lacks. And that skill was Jones didn't have to have his feet set to throw punches like uppercuts and hooks, one right after the other. In the Paz fight, the 6th round is one of the best I've seen. And in that 6th round, you're going to notice that Roy Jones doesn't have to reset. He literally, especially on the last combination, before the last knockdown, he could literally hit you with an uppercut, a left uppercut, shift his weight as you are stumbling backwards, and then hit you with, on the button, other punches, right, without having to stop and admire his work or reset his feet. And what I like is Jones threw heavy punches, hooks and uppercuts, and was accurate with them. In other words, his center of gravity, right, a concept that isn't talked about enough in boxing. His center of gravity was mobile, and he could literally frame heavy punches, and I mean heavy punches, while moving. And he didn't need for you to be right in front of him. In the Pazienza fight, Pazienza's trying to move. Pazienza's trying to turn Roy Jones. In the last sequence, Pazienza's actually falling backwards. And Roy Jones, while Pazienza is falling backwards, is able to literally hit him with multiple power shots while moving his feet, right? Jones could move and was still accurate with power punches and could still get off several of them. David Tua completely lacks that skill. It's got to be perfect, and I mean perfect, for David Tua to land his left hook. That left hook is his money punch. It's a great punch. It can knock out anyone in the sport if he lands that punch flush, right? It is a great punch. The problem is Tua needs you in front of him. He needs to have his feet set. He can't have you moving, right? The punch has to be up top, and it has to be where you're pretty stationary in front of him, and he has set the punch up. Once he hits you with that left hook, he can do a lot of other things, right? Then he can hop in like he did against Shane Cameron, and he can empty the tank. He can then hit you with combinations and things like that. But if you're moving at all in front of him, and if you are prepared for that left hook, if you're blocking that left hook, he's not the kind of guy who could fake it and hit you with something else, right? First off, he's primarily a headhunter. In videos, in interviews, he has spoken about his biggest regret in fighting Lennox Lewis. And that regret is that he didn't go to the body. Lewis is protecting himself against the hook, and Tua regrets not feasting on what was given him, which was Lewis's body. Keep in mind, Tua's only 5'10", and Tua was facing a much taller Lennox Lewis. Monte Barrett, by the way, is 6'2", 6'3". Again, there's a sizable height difference, and the difference between David Tua and Mike Tyson, the reason why we were all excited about Tua about 15 years ago, was he seemed to be the second coming of Mike Tyson, but those two fighters are very different. If you left your body open in front of Mike Tyson would take a step inside and would take apart your body. Take a look at Mike Tyson against Brian Nielsen. And that's not even vintage Tyson. That's Tyson later in his career. And you're going to see that Nielsen leaves his body open. Mike Tyson steps in, no hesitation, starts going to work on his rib cage. Tyson, both hands. Big difference between a one-handed fighter like David Tua and a two-handed fighter like Mike Tyson, right? Also, Mike Tyson, if you blocked his hook, he was coming in with debilitating uppercuts. Take a look at Tyson against Frank Bruno, right? Debilitating uppercuts. Again, that's not David Tua. David Tua can throw an uppercut. He can, but he's just not as fluid with it as Mike Tyson was. Again, you need to be framed for him to throw the punch, right? He's like the baseball player who can't hit the ball at night, right? Needs perfect conditions to hit the curveball. Now, what you're going to see in the video, if you've taken a look, and it's up on YouTube, of David Tua against Monte Barrett 1, is that Monte Barrett, and again, his last 5 fights, no wins, 2 draws, 3 losses, right? Against the guy with the losing record who he just got the draw against. This is after the first Tua fight. 2 of the judges had it a draw. The third judge had the fight for the guy Barrett was fighting, right? What Monte Barrett does against David Tua is he moves just enough, right? He's not moving around the ring like George Groves or Andre Durrell. Rather, he moves just enough to force Tua to reset his feet, right? Young Roy Jones would have been in there using the fact that Barrett is guarding against Tua's left hook against him by faking a left hook, coming in instead with a left uppercut, coming back with a right hook, moving around on angles, dancing in front of him. That's not David Tua. David Tua spends 12 rounds in that first fight looking perplexed, trying to walk down Monte Barrett, just waiting for the perfect moment where Monte Barrett isn't guarding against the left hook and Monte Barrett has stopped moving. That moment never comes. It's even worse than that. When Tua eventually jumps in late in the 12th round, he actually gets dropped for the first time in his career, and he's not even dropped off a right hand, even though Monte Barrett is right hand dominant. He's actually dropped off of a left hand. Take a look at the film. So I have to question David Tua's balance. I have to question David Tua's ability to hit a moving target. I have to question the diversification of David Tua's skills. In other words, what exactly does he have in his toolbox? It couldn't be just the left hook and a uppercut at this stage in his career. Or is it? Right? So Monte Barrett, to me, looks like he's a live dog to go a few rounds in this one. Of course, since the fight is in New Zealand and since Tua's left hook is an atomic bomb, right? If it detonates, this fight is over, right? Monte Barrett has been knocked out by several people in the past, including David Haye, right? If Tua lands just once the right way, this fight's over. So, I like the over, which would get you a win. If Monte Barrett wins the fight by decision, wins the fight in the later rounds, I don't see Barrett winning by KO. But if Monte Barrett wins by decision, or if the fight stopped in the later rounds, or if David Tua wins by decision, and keep in mind, Tua has never lost a decision in New Zealand. Right? If David Tua wins by decision, or if David Tua gets the late knockout, you're covered on the over. And of course, I like Tua, who has a dynamite left hook, by KO for all 12 rounds. If Monte Barrett slips up even a little bit, this fight could end early. I believe because Tua has been such a dominant knockout puncher, look at his record, look at his KO percentage throughout his career, I think you should be able to get the straddle. I think there are going to be many people who question the over for this fight because it's Barrett fighting Tua in Tua's home country. Right? Not only that, I'm expecting, since the first fight went the full 12 rounds, I'm expecting you to be able to get decent bettable odds on Tua by KO in this one. So to sum up, I think Monte Barrett knows what to do against David Tua, who I consider to be, at this stage in his career, a one-handed fighter who's a bit limited, right? He can't hit you while you're moving at this stage in his career, right? He, really needs for you to be right in front of him. He's primarily a headhunter. You don't have to block the body that much. You can defense David Tua by simply looking out for his left hand, right? He's much easier to fight than two-handed fighters. Because Monte Barrett knows exactly what he's dealing with, not because Monte is having a renaissance in his career, but because style-wise, Barrett knows how to dissect and defend David Tua's style. The bet I'm recommending is the over, straddled against Tua by KO. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here on YouTube. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com, and thanks for stopping by.